Good morning, my friends. Happy Tuesday. Today is Tuesday, April 14th. Um, and we are going to get back into the story that we started yesterday. It is called Will You Forgive Me? Now, we already read the first half of the story, so then we're going to skip ahead right where we left off. But before we do that, I just want to refresh our memories about where we can find the materials that we want to use if we're going to print them out, or if we just want to have them on our devices to look at when we're answering the questions. Um, if you're not going to print out the materials, you just need a blank sheet of paper and a pencil to write with. So we go into our distance learning materials. Then we're going to go to first grade. It's going to look a little bit different on your screen. First grade should always be over here. We're going to go to read aloud. We're going to go to this week, and we'll go to Tuesday, April 14th, because that is today. And this is where the materials will be. So this is the sheets. These are the sheets with all of the questions that you need to answer, including the exit ticket. And then this right here will be the book. But you can always follow along with the book right here in the PowerPoint presentation. So before we get started back in the middle of the book, let's recap what happened at the beginning. So the name of the book is called Will You Forgive Me? And at the beginning, Figgy Two Socks and Jefferson Bear were getting very excited about a midnight feast they were going to have that night. But then Figgy ran into her brothers, who seem rather annoying, to be completely honest with you. Um, and they started playing with Jefferson Bear's tickling stick. And they were throwing it around, and then they were teasing Figgy about not being able to throw it. And then she did. She threw it up, 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 up in the air, and it hit Jefferson Bear on the head. But then her brothers caught the stick when it was falling down, and they decided to hide it. But Jefferson Bear was very upset about getting hit and then not finding his stick. So Figgy, instead of telling him the truth about what happened, went off to look for the stick. She looked everywhere. She was advised by her squirrel friend to tell Jefferson Bear the truth, um, because the squirrel friend is very wise. And when Figgy does not tell the truth, look at how she looks. She looks awfully sad. She's trudging off. She feels guilty, and she feels worried that she's not going to be able to find the stick. And that is where we left off. That is yesterday's exit ticket. And here we are back to the middle of the story. So I don't think there's a really good place for me to put this square. So we're just going to leave it there for right now. All right. Boo! Figgy spun around and saw Jefferson Bear scratching his back against a tree. Probably because he didn't have a stick anymore. I just can't get to all the little places without my tickling stick, he grumbled. Figgy felt her ears begin to blush and her nose begin to twitch. She didn't like that feeling. She wanted to she wanted to tell JB what had happened. JB, she began, I have to go. And she ran off just as he was saying, what about our feast? Figgy ran and ran. So she's still not telling him the truth. So she ran and rammed and bumped into Bunkle the Badger. Watch it, grumbled Bunkle. Sorry, said Figgy. Then she saw that Bunkle was carrying a knobbly stick. You found it, she cried excitedly. Found what? Said Bunkle. JB's tickling stick, said Figgy. My walking stick, said Bunkle. I found it in my burrow. Finders, keepers. But I need it, pleaded Figgy. Bunkle sounds a little grumpy. Well, I might swap it for something, said Bunkle. Yes. What about some honey? Where will I find honey? Cried Figgy. Then she remembered Jefferson Bear's tree. Figgy Two Socks was terrified of climbing trees. I have to do it, she said to herself. If I don't get the stick back, JB will never forgive me. And that's what she wants, right? To be his friend. She began to climb. Up and up she went. Her knees began to knock. Higher and higher, her head began to feel funny. She saw the bee's nest just above her. She saw the ground way below her. Ooh, she wailed, I don't like this. This doesn't sound like she likes heights very much. She stretched out a paw and, whoops, knocked some of the honeycomb to the ground. A bee stung her angrily on the nose. Ouch! Then Figgy found she was stuck. Help, she cried, I'm stuck. But nobody heard. So she's going through a lot of trouble right now just to keep this from telling Jefferson Bear the truth. Because if she told Jefferson Bear the truth from the beginning, none of this would be happening right now. Jefferson Bear was going home that night when he heard someone whimpering, Help! 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 Is that you, Figgy? He called. Please help me down, JB, said Figgy. As soon as she reached the ground, she took some honeycomb and ran off to find Bunkle. Wait there, JB, she called. Biggie Two Socks ran back, carrying the tickling stick. You found it! Exclaimed Jefferson Bear. Figgy's nose began to twitch. Figgy, said JB, your nose is going all twitchy again. Is there something you want to tell me? Figgy Two Socks told JB everything. I was too scared to tell you before, she whispered. Too scared to tell your friend, but not too scared to climb a tree, said Jefferson Bear. I'm sorry, JB, said Figgy. Will you forgive me? I forgive you, said Jefferson Bear. Now, let's have that midnight feast. And that's the end of the story, my friends. So, right now that we finished the story, we can answer the last two questions about the story elements. We can answer the question about the solution, and we can answer the question about the lesson learned. So, we're going to think back to what the problem of this story was because we know that the solution always has to do with the problem. And the problem of the story is that Biggie didn't want Jefferson Bear to find out what happened to the stick. Um, and she was feeling really guilty about not telling him the truth. So I'm going to scroll or go back to the where we first started reading today and then turn the pages so that you guys can find what the solution to the story is. So we'll go all the way back to the middle and then take about a minute now to write down what the solution of the story is. Go ahead. All right. So when we're thinking about the solution of the story, we're thinking about the problem and then how that problem was solved. So the problem was that Biggie didn't want Jefferson Bear to find out about the stick and that she was the one who hit him with the stick and that her brothers were the ones who ran off with the stick. And she was trying to find that stick all day long. So all of these from trying to find the stick all day long, all of these issues came up. She ran off. She had to bargain with this Bunkle, the Badger character, who seems very grumpy and unreasonable. Um, so she had to go and try and climb this tree, but she's terrified of climbing trees. So she had to go through all of this trouble of doing something that she's really scared of um, to go and get this stick instead of just telling Jefferson Bear the truth. So she climbed and climbed and climbed, and she saw the bee's nest. Well, first, her knees began to knock. That usually happens when you're feeling nervous, and her head begins to feel funny. That also happens when you're feeling nervous. And she even says, "Ooh, I don't like this." So she goes through all of this trouble, and then she gets stung by a bee, and she gets stuck in the tree. And her problems don't stop until she tells Jefferson Bear the truth. And then she asks if he will forgive her, which of course he does because they're friends and he wants to have that midnight feast. So the solution of this story is that Figgy tells Jefferson Bear the truth. The solution of the story is that Figgy tells Jefferson Bear the truth. So now we can answer that last question. What is the lesson learned? So, what does the author want to teach us from telling us this story or from writing this story? So I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back to the beginning, the middle again, right where he says "boo." Gonna move me up here so you can see, and I'm gonna scroll through again so you can try and figure out what the lesson learned is. So take about a minute to do that now. Go ahead. All right. So after going through that second half of the story, we know that Figgy's problem started as soon as she stopped being honest with Jefferson Bear. Um, she had to run through the whole forest searching for this tickling stick that Jefferson Bear loved so much. She runs into Bunkle the Badger, and Bunkle the Badger is bargaining with her, saying that if you give me some honey, um, he will trade it for her or for the stick. And then she even climbs a tree, which she hates to do, um, because she's not telling Jefferson Bear the truth. Because if she told Jefferson Bear the truth from the very beginning, um, he probably would have helped her. And he seems like a very reasonable guy and understands that mistakes happen. Um, so her problems start when she starts lying to him. So the lesson learned in this story is always tell the truth. The lesson learned in this story is to always tell the truth. Because Figgy didn't tell the truth, and look, she dropped the honeycomb. She got stung on the nose. She got stuck in a tree. This seems like a lot of hassle for this walking stick that Jefferson Bear could have helped her find. So the lesson learned is to always tell the truth. All right, now that we filled out that sheet of paper, you're going to use it to answer the exit ticket. And remember, friends, you only have to post the exit ticket um, to Seesaw. But if you want to post the other pages, that's fine. But make sure that the exit ticket is most important. That is the one that your teachers want to see when you're posting them to Seesaw. So here is your exit ticket. Using the questions that you answered while watching the video lessons, write a retell of Will You Forgive Me? Be sure to include all story elements as well as key details. Now, today I'm going to give you a choice. You can either write down your retell or you can use the voice recorder tool on Seesaw to record your voice telling the retell of the story. So you can either write it down or you can use your voice to tell the retell. But you need to make sure that you include all of the story elements as well as key details. So if I were going to use my voice to tell the retell, I might write down some notes so that you can keep them organized and you'll be able to tell an organized retell of the story, Will You Forgive Me? So in order to help you to answer this question, I made oops, still getting the hang of this, guys. I made you guys a table to remind you what story elements go in each part of the story or in each part of the retell, as well as you will need 2 to 3 key details. And we already know the characters, the setting, the problem, the solution, and the lesson learned because we filled out that sheet while we were reading the story. So for today, you can either record your voice telling a retell, or you can write down the retell and take a picture of it to send or to post on Seesaw. But this is the question that you are answering. Using the questions that you answered while watching the video lessons, write a retell of Will You Forgive Me? Be sure to include all story elements as well as key details. If you're writing it, it needs to be in a paragraph. If you're telling it, you can use your notes to help you, and then you can record your voice to tell the retell. I'll leave this last slide up to help you guys write or tell your retell. All right, my friends, I will see you tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day.